Roselline remained seated under the old mango tree, the shade casting soft patterns across her lap as she gazed at the red earth beneath her feet. Her mind churned like a restless sea. The mad woman's words, "Run back to where you have sense and freedom." The sharp argument she overheard, "This is an opportunity for this family." Her heart ached with confusion, her chest tight with the weight of doubt and love tangled together. She closed her eyes, pressing her hands to her temples, trying to shake off the swirling thoughts. Suddenly, buzz, 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 her phone vibrated loudly on the bench beside her. Her eyes flew open, her heart racing. She grabbed it quickly, the screen glowing bright. "Anthony." Her stomach dropped. With trembling fingers, she answered, her voice small but sharp. "What do you want, Anthony?" There was a soft, satisfied chuckle on the other end. "Roselline, I knew you'd pick up." Her breath caught in her throat. "I told you not to call me again," she snapped, her voice quivering with anger. Anthony's voice softened, almost pitying. "We need to talk. Not about me, about Raphael." "I don't want to hear it," she hissed. "Rose, listen to me. He's not who you think he is. There are things you don't know." Tears pricked her eyes. "Stop it, Anthony. You're jealous. You're bitter. Just leave me alone." But Anthony pressed on, his tone more serious now. "I know you're in his village. I know where you are. Come back to Lagos. Let's meet just once. I did some digging, Roselline. You need to hear this." Her hand trembled. Her heart pounded. For one terrifying, tiny second, she almost listened, but then fury rushed through her, hot and blinding. Without a word, she jabbed the block button on her screen and threw the phone into her lap, her chest heaving with angry breaths. She wiped her tears roughly, shaking her head. No, 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 no. She wouldn't let Anthony poison her love. She wouldn't let his words plant seeds of doubt. But as she sat there, the village sounds moving softly in the background. Something deep inside her heart whispered, a small, aching voice she couldn't silence. What if something really isn't right? She hugged her knees tighter, feeling more alone and more confused than she had ever been. The sun was already dipping low behind the palm trees when Raphael and his siblings, Sarah, Deborah, and Eric, returned from the farm, their clothes dusted with red earth, and their arms carrying small harvests of vegetables and cassava. As soon as Raphael stepped into the compound, his eyes immediately sought out Roselline. She was still sitting under the mango tree, her arms wrapped tightly around herself, her face pale and distant, her eyes shadowed with worry. Raphael's chest tightened. He dropped the basket he was holding and hurried over, kneeling beside her. "Rose, my love, what happened?" he asked softly, brushing her hair gently away from her face. She looked up at him, her lips trembling, her heart torn. In a shaky voice, she told him about the strange encounter with the ragged woman, how she had come with cryptic warnings, calling her foolish, urging her to run back to the city. And then she hesitated. But she pushed on, telling him about Anthony's phone call, how he claimed to know secrets about Raphael, and begged her to return to Lagos. Raphael's jaw clenched, but he stayed calm. He cupped her face between his rough, callous hands, his eyes shining with fierce tenderness. "Rosie," he whispered, "listen to me. There is nothing hidden from you, nothing dark waiting in the shadows. My family loves you. They have welcomed you with open arms. And Anthony, he is grasping at straws because he has lost you. He wants to shake you, confuse you, make you doubt what we have." Roselline's throat tightened, tears filling her eyes. I just feel so tired, Raphael," she whispered. "I'm far from home. I miss Lagos. I miss my old life sometimes." Raphael smiled softly, kissing her forehead. "My love," he murmured, "if you are homesick, say the word. Tomorrow, we go back to Lagos together. I don't need the farm or the village. I need you. Wherever you are, that is home to me." She let out a small, shaky laugh through her tears, wrapping her arms around him tightly. "Promise me," she whispered. "Promise me everything will be okay." He hugged her close, his cheek pressed to hers. "I promise you, Rosie," he said softly. "Heaven and earth, I will fight for us. Always. As the sun sank into the horizon, they sat together under the mango tree, the sounds of village life drifting gently around them. And in that quiet moment, despite the doubts and whispers in her heart, Roselline closed her eyes and held on. To Raphael, to love, to the promise of tomorrow free of shadows. As the last light of day faded, Raphael gently led Roselline back to their small guest room. He helped her lie down on the simple woven mat, brushing her hair softly away from her face. "My beautiful Rosie," he whispered, his voice tender and low. "You're safe. Rest now. Let your heart be light. Let your dreams be sweet. I'm here." He kissed her forehead, lingering for a moment, his thumb gently stroking her cheek. "I'm not going anywhere," he promised quietly. With his soft words wrapping around her like a blanket, Roselline's heavy eyes finally fluttered shut. Hours later, deep into the night, she jolted awake. Her heart raced in her chest, her breath shaky, her skin damp with cold sweat. A dream, a bad one. She couldn't even remember it clearly, only the tight feeling of fear, of something slipping through her fingers. She sat up quickly, wiping her face. "Raphael?" Her voice was soft, searching. But the room was empty. Her eyes darted around, her heartbeat quickening. Where was he? Pulling a shawl tightly over her shoulders, Roselline stepped quietly out into the cool night air. The compound was still, lit only by the faint glow of a lantern hanging from a post. The voices were faint at first, a low murmur, just barely drifting on the breeze. She followed them slowly, her bare feet padding softly across the earth. Closer, closer. They were coming from the second hut. Roselline's heart began to pound louder in her ears. She crept forward, the soft voice inside twisting her stomach into knots. Peeking carefully through the slightly open doorway, Roselline's breath caught in her throat. Inside, she saw Sarah, Raphael's older sister Sarah, but this time her face was wet with tears, her body shaking as she cried hard. Raphael was kneeling beside her, his hand gently on her arm, his voice low, soothing. "I can't stand this, Raphael," Sarah sobbed, her voice raw and pained. I can't keep watching this happen. Just a little more patience, please," Raphael murmured, his voice heavy with something Roselline couldn't quite name. Her heart lurched. What was going on? Why was Sarah crying like that? Why was Raphael asking for patience? She stepped back slightly, her mind spinning, her chest tightening. Just then, Raphael's head turned sharply. His eyes locked onto the doorway. "Rosie," he called softly but urgently, his voice snapping to the air like a whip. Roselline froze. Her heart pounded. She had been caught. Raphael appeared at the doorway almost instantly, his face tense but calm. Without saying a word, he gently took Roselline's hand, leading her quietly back to the small guest room. "Come, my love," he whispered softly, his voice soothing. "Let's not disturb Sarah right now." Inside the room, under the soft flicker of the lantern, Raphael guided her to sit on the mat. Kneeling beside her, his hands holding hers tightly. "Rosie," he began, his eyes searching hers. "What you saw is not what you might be thinking." She gazed at him, her heart still racing, her mind still tangled in confusion. Raphael let out a deep breath. "Sarah, she's just in pain. You know her story. The man she loved, the one she trusted, abandoned her after the first child. Then he came back, filled her heart with false promises, and left her again with another baby." His voice softened, a trace of sadness flickering in his eyes. "She's hurting, Rosie. Tonight, she broke down, and I was just trying to soothe her. I was telling her to hold on, to wait, that everything will be all right in time." Roselline's chest tightened with sudden, sharp compassion. "Oh, Raphael," she whispered, her eyes glistening. "I can't even imagine that kind of pain." She reached up, cupping his face tenderly. She must feel so alone, so hopeless. Raphael nodded slowly. "She carries it quietly. But tonight, it spilled over." A soft, fierce resolve bloomed in Roselline's heart. "I want her to come with us to Lagos," she said, her voice filled with warmth and determination. "After we get married, I want her to stay with us. Maybe she can start over. Maybe she can find peace, Maybe even meet someone as kind and good as you. Raphael's eyes softened deeply, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. You would do that for her? He murmured. Roselline smiled faintly, a tear slipping down her cheek. She's your sister, Raphael. That makes her my sister too. She exhaled slowly, determination filling her chest. Tomorrow, let me go to her. Let me sit with her. Maybe I can help bring a little light back into her heart. Raphael leaned forward, kissing her forehead gently. You are the most beautiful woman I have ever known, he whispered. And in that quiet room, under the soft light and the thick air of village night, they held each other. Two hearts bound not just by love, but by the growing circle of care they were creating together. The morning sun poured gently over Agilite village as Raphael and Roselline packed their few bags, folding clothes and tucking small gifts from the family into their luggage. Outside, the compound buzzed softly with the quiet excitement of farewell. Mama Sarah, her wrapper tied neatly around her waist, came over and gently took Roselline's hands in hers. My daughter, Mama said, her voice warm and steady. We all love you in this family. We are ready to come to Lagos to celebrate your wedding. I will stand as your mother and father. We will be your new family. You are no longer alone. Roselline's throat tightened with emotion. She smiled faintly, blinking back tears. Mama, thank you, she whispered softly. We will call you soon with the wedding date. We'll be waiting for all of you in Lagos. Mama Sarah pulled her into a firm, motherly hug, holding her for a long, quiet moment. As they finished packing, Roselline turned and saw Sarah standing near the door, her face heavy with sadness. Gently, Roselline walked over and took Sarah's hands. Come, she said softly, pulling her outside. Let's talk. They stepped a little away from the others, standing under the shade of the old mango tree. Roselline wrapped an arm around Sarah's shoulder. Why are you so sad, Sarah? She asked quietly, her heart aching for the woman who had quietly carried so much pain. Sarah let out a long, shaky sigh, her eyes filling with tears. It's the man I love, she murmured. He left me. He abandoned me for another woman. I gave him everything, and he still walked away. Roselline felt her heart twist sharply. She pulled Sarah into a tight, comforting hug. Forget him, Sarah, she whispered softly. You are strong. You are beautiful. You are worth so much more. Move forward. Better things are waiting for you. Sarah clung to her, silent tears slipping down her cheeks. After a while, Roselline smiled gently, brushing Sarah's hair back. I'll be waiting for you in Lagos, okay? We're expecting the whole family at the wedding. Sarah gave a faint, watery smile, nodding slowly. As the time to leave arrived, the family gathered to see them off. Raphael and Roselline climbed into bus, waving warmly as Mama Sarah, Papa Eric, Deborah, and Eric smiled and called out their goodbyes. But as the bus pulled away down the dusty village road, Roselline turned her head. She saw Sarah standing farther back, half hidden by the mango tree, her hands clasped tightly in front of her, her shoulders trembling softly. Sarah watched them leave, her eyes glistening, her lips pressed tightly together. And as the bus disappeared down the road, a single tear slid down Sarah's cheek as she whispered softly into the still air. Goodbye, sister. The dusty streets of Lagos felt oddly unfamiliar as the bus pulled into the terminal late at night. Roselline leaned her head against Raphael's shoulder, weary but comforted by the familiar hum the city she once called home. They hailed a cab and made their way back to the modest apartment they had shared for months, the one filled with laughter, quiet tears, shared dinners, and whispered dreams. That night, they collapsed onto their old mattress, exhausted from the journey. But even in sleep, Roselline's mind buzzed with thoughts of what was ahead, of dresses and dates, guest lists and family, and most of all, a new beginning. By the next morning, the apartment was alive with activity. Raphael stood by the window, ironing his shirt with one hand and eating puff-puff with the other. Roselline sat at the center table with her notepad, sketching ideas, checking vendors online, and dreaming aloud. What do you think about next month? She asked, looking up. For the wedding? Raphael glanced at her with a smile. Next month is fine, my love. You're the boss. She laughed, tossing a pillow at him. But then, Her tone changed, gentle but firm. "Raph," she said, "I've been thinking." He set the iron aside, raising a curious brow. "I don't want us to stay here anymore." His brow furrowed slightly. "Why not?" Roselline stood and walked over to him, taking his hands in hers. "I want us to move to one of the properties my father gave me. It's an Ikoyi, a quiet gated estate. It has space, comfort, security. I don't want to start our marriage in a place that doesn't reflect the life we're building." Raphael's face fell slightly, and he slowly pulled his hand away. "Rosie," he said, voice careful, "I appreciate that, but I can't accept that." She blinked in surprise. "Why not?" He took a deep breath, looking down. "I don't want it to seem like I'm with you for money, that I'm chasing wealth. I've worked hard to build a life, even if it's simple. If we move there now, people will talk, and even worse, I might start doubting myself." Roselline's heart ached. She stepped closer, placing her palm on his chest. "Listen to me," she said, her voice soft but firm. "I know who you are. You didn't chase me. You protected me. You didn't take from me. You gave me everything I didn't know I needed. This house, this bed, it was enough. But now, we're starting a new chapter. And I want our home to reflect the love, the strength, and the dignity we share." He looked at her, eyes softening. "I don't care what people say," she continued. "They called you a gold digger before we even began. They judged us, but we're still here. We're still standing. Let them talk." Raphael exhaled slowly, the fight in his chest softening into surrender. "You really want this?" he asked. She nodded. Then, "Okay," he said finally, "we'll move." She smiled brightly, throwing her arms around him. "I love you, Raph." He hugged her tightly. "And I love you more than the breath I breathe." Later that day, they began packing. Not just clothes and dishes, but memories, moments, and everything that had made this small room a cocoon of love. They were stepping into a new world, one built with old scars, new hope, and love that refused to let go. The apartment was a mess of suitcases and half-filled boxes. Raphael moved around folding clothes, while Roselline carefully wrapped framed photos and placed them into a suitcase. There was a sense of joy in the air, a quiet excitement humming between them. But then, just as she reached for her phone to check the moving checklist, it vibrated in her hand. Unknown number. She frowned. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she picked it. "Hello." A familiar voice sliced through the line like a knife. "Anthony, I warned you." "Roselline," he said, his voice dark and bitter. "You will regret the step you've taken, and the one you're about to take." Roselline's entire body stiffened. Anthony continued coldly, his words dripping with venom. "You're too blind to see it now, but that man you love? He's a snake. He's hidden himself well, but he will bite you. You think you found love, but you found a liar who knows how to play the long game." Her hands trembled, her vision blurred with rage. "Anthony," she barked, her voice trembling with fury. "Stop calling me. You don't know Raphael. You don't know me anymore. You don't know our love." She was shaking now, her voice rising as Raphael looked over in alarm. "You lost me, and you can't stand it. So now you want to poison everything I have. You're the snake, Anthony, not him." She ended the call without waiting for a reply and immediately blocked the number again. Tears burned at the corners of her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. Raphael came to her side. "Who was that?" She shook her head. "No one important anymore. Just another shadow from the past." That night, after the packing slowed, Roselline sat alone by the window, watching the moon cast silver shadows on the concrete below. Her heart pounded with a fierce, unwavering truth. Raphael had stood by her when no one else did. He had comforted her, held her, built a world with her from nothing. She wanted to do more than just love him. She wanted to honor him. She pulled out her notepad and began scribbling down a plan. After the wedding, she would call her lawyer. Quietly, with no announcement, she would transfer all her properties, everything she inherited from her father, to Raphael. It would be her wedding surprise to him, a declaration not just of love, but of absolute trust. "I'm not just giving you my heart, she whispered to herself. I'm giving you my whole life. A few minutes later, she picked up her phone and called an old driver from her father's estate. Uncle Joshua, she said, please bring one of the Bentleys from the family garage. I'll text you the address. Park it just outside the apartment quietly. Yes, Ma, the voice replied. Right away. In the morning, when the car arrived, she called Raphael outside. He was confused at first. Blinking at the gleaming silver car parked by the gate, its headlights soft in the darkness. Roselline handed him the key. What's this? He asked, stunned. She smiled, pressing the key into his palm. Your new car, she said simply. From me, from your wife-to-be. Raphael stared at her, speechless, his eyes filled with emotion. But, Rosie, this is... She silenced him with a finger on his lips. You gave me peace. Let me give you ease. He pulled her into a long, quiet embrace under the morning sky, whispering against her ear, I don't deserve you. And she replied gently, Yes, you do. Thanks for watching. Your opinion is highly valued. Watch out for the next season. Kindly subscribe and like.